In this episode, I will show you how to build the new model from scratch using the new feature of TRL Junctions 11, where the software automatically calculates the geometry and there is no need to do all the calculations and drafting using AutoCAD. So I will show you step by step how to build the junction, how to set up the layout, and how to set up the geometry. So we will start by going into the diagram. Double click here. And then as you can see, we have a simple draft of a 3-arm roundabout. The next step would be going to Google Earth. And in Google Earth, you would choose the desired location and the layout of your junction. That's, for the sake of the example, that's just a random roundabout. So we can capture it. And after we have captured it, we will upload it into the junction diagram. So the first step would be clicking here in the background tab, then manage backgrounds. Now we will press here, add a background image. And after we uploaded the background image, we can press exit. And then we can just expand it here. We can then adjust the layout to match the background image. So the way we do it, we just choose the layout and we can rotate it. So we can do something like that. And now we can just match it. It doesn't have to be accurate. It's just for the sake of visualization. We can maybe we can now just play with it, just to make it nice. Again, it's not necessary. It's just for the ease of our eyes. And yeah, after we have done it, we can then start calculating the geometry. But to be fair, we don't really need to calculate. So the first step would be adjusting the scale to match the actual width and other geometry parameters. So as you can see here, currently it's set for 20 meters. So in order to match it to the actual layout, we would go back to the Google Earth. Then we would choose a random measurement section, which will be easier to measure. We would measure, for example, I can see these black points here, so it would be easier to assess it. And that is, as you can see, 16 meters, 0.3 or 0.4. The next step would be setting up the same measurement here. We would drag the scale to the same place we used, and we're gonna put it like that. So now you see this line represent that line, and we double click here and we set it up to 16.4 meters, and then we can just remove the line, bring it back to the, just put it in the side so it won't bother us. And now we can move on to the next step. After we adjust the scaling to match the layout, we can then start the actual measurement. So the way we do it, we would go to measure. And now, if you notice, these points would appear in the diagram. And the way we do it, we would position the points according to the guidance shown in the PDF help. So you can always press help and it would take you to the manual. And then we can just scroll and see how it's done if we don't know it. So for example, for a standard roundabout, the approach, half width, entry width, and furlongs are shown here. So as per this example, you can do it in the diagram. We can put E here, and then we would put K3 here, and K2, K1. So that's basically to measure the flare, and then the M1 goes here and here. Yeah, but it's very important to bear in mind that you have to measure the specific arm and not the opposing arm. So now we on arm 2, okay? And if I'm going to exit mode, and I'm going to scroll up, and you see arm 1, arm 3, and arm 2. So again, if you want to measure the next arm, we would go to arm 3 and press here, and then we can again measure, and you would see that a new set of points would appear, and we would have to manually move it around. Okay, so I'm not going to do now the remaining arms. We're just going to focus on the arm we used, which is arm 1, and sorry, arm 2. And now we can move on to the next parameters. So we can go to geometry again, and after measuring the approach road half width and the entry width, we can measure the entry radius. And that's quite simple. If you see, you basically need to set up the entry radius, and the way it's measured is by putting the circle to border the radius of the entry right here. If you're not sure, you can always go back to the guidance and you can see. So that's actually has to be like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's more or less accurate. You can always play with it, tweak it, twist it a little bit. Yeah. And the last step would be the inscribed sacral diameter. Of course, there's another step after the conflict entry. So, yeah, we would just, yeah, we're not going to make it accurate now because, in reality, we have to make sure it's actually cover the whole of the inscribed circle diameter. But that's enough for now. And then the last step would be the conflict entry. And the way it's done, it's basically setting up the circles, and we can also go back here and see how it's done. Yeah. And now we have all the parameters. And after we finished, we would press save in file, correct measurements, and you would see that all the parameters here are updating automatically. So yes, there's no need to change it manually. And now when we finish, we can exit and it's done. So the next steps would be setting it for the remaining arms. And that's it basically. So no need to use AutoCAD or any other software to accurately measure it. There might be some exceptions in very, very complicated layouts and when a very high level of accuracy is needed. But for most people and the modelers, that wouldn't be necessary in this stage. So thank you for watching this episode. The next episode, I would show you how to actual run the model and how to insert all the traffic flows and different modeling parameters. Thank you.